Breaking news, South Carolina is moving on to the national championship game for the third time in the last 4 seasons as they waxed the Texas Longhorns 74-57. And it was the third quarter that did it for South Carolina. They outscored Texas 20-9. Joyce Edwards was huge. She's been struggling in this tournament rather. But on this night, 13 points, 11 boards, 6 dimes. Madison Booker, 11, but she was not even on the floor to end the game. Jordan Lee, the freshman, cooked up 16 points, but South Carolina really took over in the third quarter. Chris Williamson here with you alongside Erica Ayala. And Erica, it was a 3-point game at halftime. Then the third quarter happens. Joyce Edwards happened. Bree Hall did. What did you see from the Gamecocks that made them just get out to this huge lead in that third quarter?
It was that poise. It was the poise of a team that has been there, done that. They're not new, but they're true. And that's what I wanted to see from them coming into the second half, is just to play their game. We talked about it a little bit, Chris. I felt that Texas was maybe trying a few different things, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in a game where it's win or go home, you want to go out. If you're going to go out, you want to go out playing your game. And you definitely, if you're going to win, you want to make sure that you're playing your game, you're impacting the game. They started with a fast start. Madison Booker, I think, maybe got a little bit fatigued in that early start, but a little bit more disjointed than I think Texas probably wanted to play this game.
Right, 100%. But you talked about South Carolina. South Carolina, not new to this. They're true to this. Joyce Edwards, she is new to this. She's a freshman. She's never been in this position before, but she was the best player, not just scoring, but also rebounding, playmaking. What did you see from her that we didn't see in the previous rounds? I think
when you have a team like South Carolina, you have players that everyone is gunning for. I even talked about expecting a big game from Chloe Kitts. We didn't see that.
No.
And when you have a coach, though, like Dawn Staley, maybe she's new, yes, to the NCAA program and to the team, but Dawn Staley isn't. And she knows what she has on her roster, and she knows how to adequately prepare her players, and I think that's what we saw.
That's what we saw, and Gamecocks fans hoping to see that in the national championship game. We have to talk about the defensive pressure from South Carolina. First quarter wasn't looking hot, but then in that second half, they really flipped the switch. What made them so just cutthroat with the way they guarded Texas, giving them barely any easy shots?
They continued to just hound the paint, and that's what I wanted to see from them going into the second half. They met success when they were very difficult and making things difficult, I should say, for Texas in the paint. Odegaard not able to really get her game going, always throwing at least 2 players, making it, even when she's, collecting the ball, receiving the ball, making it difficult for her, making the entry passes difficult. And so then now Texas, you have to rely on other playmakers, moving the ball around to get the ball where you want it to be. And the ball got stuck at times. Turnovers were a little bit of a problem. And not that the turnovers, there was a big disparity there, Chris, but it's always the timeliness.
Yes, exactly.
And that was the difference in this game when it came to the mistakes, the errors, or the forced or unforced errors between these two teams.
Yeah, 109 straight wins for the Gamecocks when leading by 10 or more points. Just a great effort all around from Dawn Staley's squad. And as we flip the page to Texas, right, and their off season, what are you expecting from them next season, or not even next season, but just what they're going to have to do in the transfer portal, depending on, players who decide to stay or go?
We talked about it before, the perimeter shooting. We are at a point in time in women's basketball where you need to be able to stretch the defense and have some true offensive threats from the perimeter, and that just hasn't been the game that Texas has been able to, or has played, and they haven't been forced to play that necessarily because of what they can do on the defensive side. That being said, if you know that there's limited mileage, let's say, on your offense, then what you want to do in the offseason when you're looking to retool perhaps, you know, and that's a great thing about college basketball. You always have the opportunity to retool. I think that's what they're going to look for. Either getting some of the players on their roster more confident to take that mid-range and long-range shot, or go get some of those players because their defense is great. I like how they attack the game. You know, we know that they have the potential to beat a South Carolina team. It just didn't come to fruition. This is still a program that under Vic Schaefer is finding their stride, but they're right there in the conversation. Maybe not as talked about as they want to be at times, but that will come. And it comes by being in games like this and continuing to, again, retool, find the right pieces.
Yeah, speaking about getting perimeter shooting, we joked about how they only shoot three threes a game. Well, in this one, they shot 10, right? They only made 4, and they were not timely threes as we look now ahead to South Carolina getting the victory, Texas going home, South Carolina moving on to the national championship, looking to defend their title. So here's how the defending champs have looked in the NCAA tournament since 2017. LSU, they lost in the Elite Eight last year. South Carolina, they lost in the Final Four. Stanford lost in the Final Four. So you see a theme here, right? They would be the first program to repeat since UConn did it from 2013 to 2016. UConn is headed back to a familiar place, the national championship, as they secure the first ever 30-point win in the history of the women's Final Four, 85-51. AZ Fudd was electric in the first half, 19 points, 7-12. Sarah Strong also was just unbelievable, 22 points, 8 rebounds. Paige Bueckers, 16 points, 5 rebounds, 2 dimes. And yeah, you see Lauren Betts, she put up 26, but look at the rest of her team. Not even in double digits, just a masterclass from the Huskies, who are clearly on a mission. Chris Williamson here with you alongside CBS Sports women's basketball analyst Erica Ayala. And Erica, listen, I'm about to start calling you Raven because you had the vision for AZ Fudd going off as your X factor.
I mean, we know what she can do. We know what a healthy AZ Fudd means for this UConn team, and you got to win to advance to that national championship game. AZ Fudd showed up as we expected her to. And I also want to go back to Paige Bueckers, though, because we heard a little bit on the broadcast that this is the Swiss Army knife, Paige Bueckers. There's so many ways that she can impact a game. And, you know, she was getting kudos for what she was doing defensively. Also, I think how she was drawing the UCLA defense at times to open up opportunities for her teammates.
Yeah, she and this Huskies program are really locked in step. You know, we talk about Paige Bueckers, we talk about AZ Fudd, even Sarah Strong, but how about the play of Janet El-Alfi, right? Her defense, I know Lauren Betts got 26 points, but it didn't matter because the Bruins couldn't shoot from the perimeter. But her defense against Lauren in that first half, 4 steals. What did you see from her that made it so difficult for Betts to find a rhythm in the game?
Well, it's just another body there that is able to really take up space. And when you are a big player, you get used to being able to have your way on the block. When you go up against someone as tall and as strong as you are, with as much determination, that will wear you down. And it also makes it difficult and sometimes frantic. As someone who used to play basketball, and I'm not 6 foot nothing, you know, it makes you a little frantic also as a backcourt player, as a guard, trying to feed your post player. So it can also have the effect of speeding up the offense, even if it's not speeding up Lauren Betts, because as you mentioned, she got her points. She did what she needed to do for the most part. But when you have a defender that can go toe-to-toe, that's huge. And that did make a difference early on. And we did see a little foul trouble that open things up, I think, for UCLA and for Lauren Betts. But overall, you want to have those good minutes and have a player in your post that can give you those good minutes on defense to just slow things down, make things difficult for your opponent. And that's what UCLA ran into today.
Right, because Jenna Alfie, she didn't need to score. All she needed to do was be a pest to Lauren Betts, and that was what she did on this Friday night. And it really, you just saw everything come together, right? We were waiting for AZ to get her moment, right? Get that shooting form back. Sarah Strong. What more can we say about her? Because like Joyce Edwards, she's never been here, but she's playing wise beyond her years.
Hey, sometimes you get invited to the party, you show up on time, clean, in your outfit, you know what I'm saying? And that's exactly what Sarah Strong was able to do. And we know that she comes from a pedigree of family members, her mother in particular, Allison Feaster, who knows how to play in these big moments. And so you have to think that a little bit of course, is the UConn program and being prepared, as we talked about with South Carolina. But what I liked from Sarah Strong's game is that she was able to quite literally stretch her game and give a look that we know she's capable of, but to knock down the three-pointers that she was knocking down, and we've talked about it again, it's not just how many you make, but at what time in the game you're making them. Give your team a run at the right time, take the wind out of your opponent, because UCLA was trying to mount a few comebacks, get the game within a respectable, reasonable score, but they never could quite get there. And Sarah Strong being able to shoot from the perimeter, I mean, that was huge.
No, it was huge. It just felt like everything was going in for UConn. On the other side for the Bruins, nothing was going in, particularly from deep. Now, this was a historic run for the Bruins. It's incredible what they've accomplished. Corey Close has done a wonderful job. Lauren Betts, Kiki Rice anchoring that squad. If you're the Bruins, what do they need to do next season to make sure they do not get destroyed like they did on national television?
It's not something that UCLA is going to want to hear anytime soon, that their fan base is going to want to hear. But similarly to how they took the time to watch film from that LSU loss in the Sweet 16 last year, they're going to have to do that again. Being able to do that, talking to head coach Corey Close about what that process was like, how they in some ways reopened wounds that they went through, Chris, they're going to have to do that again. We were kind of talking off camera that sometimes you need to have that heart space. We hear, Courtney Vandersloot says that a lot, who's now back with Chicago Sky, but she would say sometimes you need that heart space to rebuild a team, to reestablish a foundation, and to also be able to understand your limits to then push past them. And that's what this UCLA team is going to do. They, as you mentioned, went on a historic run. There's so much history just in UCLA athletics overall, and now they're a part of that. But once you get a taste of that, you want more. And I do think that we will see more from this UCLA team.
Yeah, we will see more, and I know they want more three-point shooting, just 25% from three on this night. Definitely not a recipe for success when you're playing a team like the UConn Huskies. Eric Ayala always breaking it down like a champ. And listen, when you look at the most national title game appearances in women's college basketball history, UConn is tied with Tennessee with 13 apiece. And they're hoping they can secure their 12th national title. And coming up, we will get you set for the national championship. South Carolina looking to get their lick back against UConn. UConn and trying to end a nearly decade-long drought of not hoisting the national championship trophy. Stay with us. You're watching CBS Sports HQ. Chris Williamson here with you alongside Erica Ayala, and it is going to be UConn against South Carolina, the #1 seed versus the #2 seed. And we all know, Erica, what happened in February. UConn just tore up South Carolina, 87-58. Just an embarrassing performance from the Gamecocks. So as you look ahead to this national championship game, what are going to be the keys for South Carolina to get this W?
For South Carolina, I think they have to remember that loss. And, you know, there was just one letter that Dawn Staley kept saying after that game, and it was F. Literally, the letter F is what she was saying was going through her mind. And the team just didn't have it. And that happens in sports. It happened in the regular season, but there's no room for that if you want to win a national title. And you have to know that UConn is going to come in confident. They're playing some of their best basketball. We know, again, the UConn pedigree. I will never discount that. When you have a winning culture that has been built by the coaches that are still there, Gino Auriemma and Chris Daly, that counts for something. So South Carolina has to be ready and know that they too are building a culture. They are building something special in South Carolina. We heard from Dawn Staley earlier. She knows that it's not just the program, it's not just in the athletics department, it's not just at the university, it's not just in the city. It is a statewide culture that the South Carolina Gamecocks women's basketball program has brought. And they have to carry that with pride coming into this game against UConn.
Yeah, both fan bases are extremely passionate. I mean, you look online, social media, they defend their team like no other. Sometimes go maybe even leaving a little overboard, but that's what you have. That's what you have when it comes to these big programs, these big brands, and just an innate desire to be linked with them. For UConn, you know, they obviously felt good after that game, right, in South Carolina, but what did they have to do to make sure they're not thrown off guard for something that South Carolina might throw their way?
It's something that Paige Becker said after that game, because UConn has had their share of losses that they want to forget. Maybe also use the letter F to define. Paige Beckers told her team immediately following that win against South Carolina, we earned this win, we will revel in and celebrate this, but let's not have this win and this game be our best win and our best game. And now they have one more game to make that be the reality. They have one more game to show that there is even better for this UConn Huskies program. And I think that's exactly what they're going to do. Everyone step up, play your role, and do it to your best capability. Empty the tank. You absolutely have to empty the tank because there is a national championship on the line. Yeah, there's a national championship on the line. So many players are going to be locked in because this is their last year, their last go around. Of course, Paige Beckers wants to end her career on a high note and finally get that national championship that has been eluding her for her entire career, thanks in part to injuries and just unfortunate luck. But now it's time, Erica, to get your pick for who is going to win the national championship. Is it going to be UConn finally getting a title for the first time since 2016, or will South Carolina repeat? Well, first of all, I just have to, let's celebrate and appreciate. I'm a New York gal, but Philly, I know you must be proud, right? You've got two coaches that are going to hold Philly down either way. I'm sticking with what I said, though. I'm going with the Philly coach that's looking for a 12th title. I'm taking the UConn Huskies.
Okay. Hey, look, I don't blame you for that because the Huskies have been playing the best out of everybody. But for South Carolina, Dawn Staley and that coaching staff, I have a hard time imagining they're going to allow UConn to do what they did in February in their building and in that streak, right, of all those home games they won. So for me, I think it's going to be close, but in the end, I'm going with Dawn Staley, Mylaja Fulwiley, Chloe Kitts, Joyce Edwards. They are going to repeat. It won't be by much, right? I think it'll be a one-possession or two-possession game, but South Carolina, listen, I'm not betting against America.
I understand. I ain't even mad. We might be on the opposite side here for now, but I think what we both agree on is that this is going to be a great basketball game. I don't think either one of us is expecting it to be one-sided. I think we are expecting it to be an exciting game. We're expecting the stars of each team to step up and we're expecting some role players to do just that, to execute flawlessly, which is just going to make for great basketball.
It is going to be cinematic gold on Sunday, 3 p.m. UConn against South Carolina for the right to be named the national champion. As you know, it's funny, Erica, UConn, they lost their only title game versus South Carolina, 11-0 and all the other ones, and now South Carolina, they're 3-0 all time. Of course, not as big of a sample size, but still. And we all cannot forget South Carolina losing at home 87-58, one of their worst defeats under Dawn Staley.